I'm here to obviously talk about Voodoo, and I'm going to start with kind of where we got to and what we're doing. 2 billion downloads is something we just hit last week, so it's a really impressive milestone for us. It's been a number of years in the making, but with the amount of hyper-casual games we have and the launches that we've got, we were able to hit 2 billion, which is super exciting. This is kind of a little timeline of what it's looked like. In 13, we started with one app. In 15, also one app. And then right through to 18, you can see the increase in launches. And I think this really demonstrates how we have learned from the launches that we've had, and we were able to get better at what we're doing. It's not an easy market to be in, but it's a very exciting one because it moves so fast. We've learned an awful lot about the process, so we try to be as data-driven as possible. Here you've got an example of a game that, on the left, Voodoo was really excited about, really passionate. The whole team thought, yes, this is going to be it, this is going to be the one. And it went out, and the KPIs were terrible. And then on the right, we look at one that had really good KPIs, Fight List, and that wasn't a game that people really believed in. It was just something that we thought, okay, we're going to chuck it out and see what happens. And then people loved it. And realizing that those KPIs can speak to you and taking advantage of that, I think is core to what has driven Voodoo's success. And this kind of goes to show a little bit about how we view speed of production. When we've all had to learn the hard way in this case. 9 months to make a game, Bull, which really didn't get very good numbers, and then 1 week to make Paper, which was obviously a big hit for Voodoo. It's one of the first really big hits. And this just goes to show that if we fall in love with our games and we spend a lot of time making them, polishing them, and making them look beautiful, then actually we are not really listening to what users want. And by taking a very short amount of time, we can actually test ideas out and then double down if they work out. And this is kind of how we approach that. We think very small. We take a very skeleton view of what a game is and test that. We have an assumption. We think, okay, we found a mechanic we really like, and then that's something that we're going to test in the market. If we see something that is very good, we dig into the data, we look at session lengths, we look at retention, we look at a bunch of different things, and then we can develop that further into a hit game. This is kind of the process that we do. We will spend really a lot of time, about a third of our time is just discussing stuff and talking. And it effectively becomes just a general game jam in the office. We are talking about games all day long. And there's no reason to continue working on something if we've talked about it and we feel like it's not going to work. We really enjoy discussing and arguing and getting our views across. And that's why kind of the team spirit is really important, because we need to be able to challenge each other. We then go ahead and build a prototype and then test it in the market. And that's the route to creating a unicorn for us. This is what we look for. CPI and retention. It's pretty simple. CPI for us is all about sexiness. It's, do I want to play this game? When I see a video in 2-3 seconds, does it look interesting? Does it add something to my life that I don't have before? And we spend a lot of time digging through GIFs, looking at videos online, YouTube, Facebook, everything, just to try and find stuff that people really like and adapt that into a game. Then on the retention side, it's about fun. So looking at day 1, day 7, trying to figure out, why do people play a game? What is it that holds them inside the game? There's got to be something that is interesting, exciting to the user. Some loop, some feedback, some positive stimulus that keeps them playing. So we try and break games down like this. We look at skeleton, and then we put on kind of the muscles, and then we go for end product. And I'll run through that in a bit more detail. A skeleton could look like something like this. We've got snake here and brick breaker. Those two combined can make snake versus blocks. And this is a very good example of how just taking very simple mechanics, merging them together, can come up with a global hit. And we're talking many hundreds of millions of downloads and obviously a lot of revenue as a result of that. So thinking very simple, I think, is key for hypercasual. We also spend a lot of time looking at satisfying things in life and things that people can relate to. So here's a good example of something that, while watching, is quite hypnotic. You can keep looking at that GIF for a long time and not get bored, or at least we can. And that's what we find interesting when turning that into a game. We really try and focus on gameplay first. It's got to be a gameplay that engages with users' attention, something that they can enjoy. And so focusing on gameplay and not polishing too much allows us to be very quick and to test out ideas quickly. Also, once you've got a gameplay in place, if some numbers look good and some don't, then you can always adapt it quickly. If you've sunk a lot of time into polishing it and putting artwork into it, then it's very difficult, also emotionally, to actually move away from that idea. So by keeping it very simple, we can adapt the ideas quickly. Some basic rules. Snackable, like I mentioned. It's got to be 2-3 seconds almost, or 2-3 minutes, depending on where you are. Just open up the app, play one quick round, and then leave. It needs to be YouTubeable. And what we mean by that is, in 2 seconds, you need to be able to understand exactly what is going on. If you can't understand the gameplay in 2 seconds, then it's not going to be understood by anybody else. And without that instant understanding, people won't download the game. We also have System 1 and System 2. These are terms from Voodoo. And basically, System 1 means instantly understandable. So when you see the video, you need to understand what you're doing. And that will be the game loop, that will be the input, and that will be the control that you have over the success or failure of the gameplay. There are a few nice-to-haves that we try and add into games that have some good numbers. So things like having a little bit of a story, and that can be very minimal. That can just be like having, sheep going from one place to the other, and instead of just going along a road, they can go to a farm. And that just suggests a tiny bit of a story, and that suggestion is enough to give reason behind playing. Having something contemplative is also really fun, so a small action with a big impact is a really great way to have users feel like they've achieved something. And also, and that goes to having the big reward. There's a few gameplay features that we try and add into a game. This usually happens after the core gameplay is proven to be successful. Again, there's no point in adding these to a game unless you already prove the numbers first. So things like having a perfect, fever. Adding levels is really seductive. It's fun. We all enjoy making levels, but balancing those levels is incredibly challenging. So we usually try and stick with just a very few simple levels at the start. And then if we like what we see in the data, we can develop them further. This is where it gets really challenging, actually, for us as gamers, because adding meta, adding skins and challenge modes is really fun, but it's not often what users want. We've seen many times where adding this stuff actually detracts from the KPIs, and as a result, we've had to remove them from a game. I'm going to jump into an example here of kind of the process of building a game. Started off with Minesweepers for Crowd City. I'm sure, are you all familiar with Minesweepers? I definitely was in Windows 95. We started off with something that we liked and turned that into a very simple mechanic. And obviously it wasn't a game, but we felt that there was something engaging with the mechanic, so we kept pushing. Having this kind of expansion, exploration, there was something fun about it. The sensation that the user has when they do that was really exciting. So we pushed further and created some prototypes. And as you can see on the left there, this is not really a gameplay, but there is a sensation of exploration and discovery, which is fun. And that minimal graphics allowed us to then transition into something more that we found in the game, which is controlling the crowd. While you're running around with loads of people following you, it's quite fun. Like, just the sensation of having people follow you is fun. So taking that core sensation and transitioning it into a bigger game was a lot easier if without having all the artwork. So what are we doing in Berlin? We've been here for the last 3 months, and we're setting up a studio. I'm heading that up and hiring out a team looking for programmers and artists. Focusing on very small teams, so small teams that are going to work on games being built in 1 to 3 weeks. And this is all about testing out our ideas, our theories. It's like I said, it's basically a permanent game jam. We have ideas put on the wall, and we just talk about them and work through how we want to turn those into games and keep trying. Culture is really focused on thinking big, so taking a small idea and then thinking big. We always ask ourselves, is this going to be a unicorn? If we don't think it's going to be a unicorn, then there's no point in making it. We have a system where we bet on the KPIs before a game goes out. And it's quite fun, because we're always wrong. And it's quite revealing to see how some people are often very wrong on certain games and more correct on other games. We believe in ownership, so allowing teams to really decide what games they want to make and how they want to make them. We are all learning in a very new industry what makes these games successful, so there is no right answer to any of this stuff. I can't pretend to know, how to make these games myself. I just learn by speaking to a lot of people and experimenting a lot. And we obviously offer a profit share as well. So yeah, that's it. Sorry that was a little bit short, but my voice is probably going to go soon. So thank you. Any questions?
That was way faster than expected.
Yeah, it was, but my voice is going, that's why.
You're like, okay, I have to hurry up, I have no voice left. All right, but thank you so much. Do we have any questions? There's one. You're the fastest. You're getting the microphone first. And then it's you? It was you? Okay.
Yeah, we can run this into more Q&A. It's more fun, actually, I think.
Okay.
Hearing me talk.
That was your plan all along. You wanted to make more room for the audience to engage. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
That's a smart move.
So my question is, how do you make money with that games? How do you monetize them?
Yeah, really good question. So we put ads in the games. It's all advertising that funds the gameplays. We don't test with ads, but once the game goes live, we put interstitials, rewarded video, and banners in.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Who was the next one?
Exactly here in this third row.
So how many games do you release in a year?
Well, according to the graph, I think it was like 48 last year.
Okay.
But we're testing around 300 to 400 every month. So really a crazy amount of games.
Okay.
And that's really interesting for us because we get to see gameplays that work and don't and learn from that and evolve ideas from what we see.